Welcome to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend, the show that leads the league in perfect parlays. I'm kidding, of course. Look at us, though. March is in full swing. Tickets are getting punched for the field of 68. And as college hoops try to improve their resumes, we've got a guest who is never on the bubble. In fact, he's got an automatic bid to this show. ESPN's Bilas is here. Jay is going to help you get ready to bet on the tournament, and I'm going to present him with a cousin's conundrum that will test his love of Duke basketball. Then, the D3, Harry, Brother Brian, Darren, the Parlay Kid, join me to talk some NBA wagers from Sixth Man of the Year to when Steph Curry will hit three-pointer number 4,000. I thought he achieved that like a decade ago. Anyway, before any of that, it's time for a segment that tests my reflexes and reactions. It involves our producer, babyface Joel Solomon, throwing a crumpled up piece of paper with a thought written on it. I'll catch it, I'll read it, and I'll tell you my thoughts on the issue. We call this Tossing Topics. All right, fire away, babyface. What do we got? Jimmy Johnson steps down. Ah, yes, the great Jimmy Johnson has retired from his gig at Fox NFL pregame show. Although I had nothing to do with his retirement, I feel like I was there for the beginning of his run at Fox. Let me tell you a quick story. It was actually his second time around at Fox Sports. He came back in 2002. My cousin Jimmy was picking games on the Fox pregame show. I was picking the games. He came up with the funny stuff. Anyway, before week 2 that 2002 season, there was a Fox luncheon, and everyone who had anything to do with the pregame show was invited. So Jimmy Kimmel and I stood back and listened as Jimmy Johnson, Terry, Howie, and JB discussed the upcoming games. Jimmy J starts talking about how much he loved the Eagles that week versus the then Redskins, and I whisper to my cousin Jimmy K, that's a loser pick. And I don't even get the word pick out of my mouth, and cousin Jimmy immediately yells out, hey, my cousin Sal thinks Philly is a loser pick. Jimmy Johnson then instructs me to stand up like it's debate class and explain why I like the underdog Redskins over the Eagles. So I nervously go through my whole spiel. It's Washington's first home game, division matchup, crowd is going to be hot, Donovan McNabb is overvalued and will have trouble with the Redskins pass rush. After I'm done, silence fills the room, and then Jimmy Johnson says, well, I've heard enough. I'm switching my pick to Washington. And now I'm beside myself. I mean, this is my favorite coach of all time, taking my stupid football advice. I was in heaven. Well, fast forward to Sunday. The Eagles beat the Redskins 37-7. Donovan McNabb has almost 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And that was the last time I bet on a Steve Spurrier team. And also the last time Jimmy Johnson ever spoke to me. Anyway, Coach, I gave you a loser. You gave my boys 2 Super Bowl wins. Seems like a fair trade. Excited to join you in retirement at the blackjack tables or fishing for marlin. I'd be happy with either. All right, toss me another one, babyface. Good. Mavs meltdown. All right, oh boy, 2025 has gotten off to a rough start for the Dallas Mavericks. Let's recap. They traded their best player, Luka Doncic, who happens to be one of the top 4 ballers in the league, for a 6'10" bag of bones who immediately injures himself. The superstar they paired him with, Kyrie Irving, is now out for the year. So naturally, the Mavericks felt bad for the fans and lowered their ticket prices for next year. What? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm being told now they raised their prices? It'll now cost you 8% more to see the Mavs play next season. And this was a fan base that was protesting before the ticket hike. Come on, you trade Luka for nothing and then increase ticket prices? This is like Caesars taking the prime rib out of the buffet and then raising prices. This is like Shabuzi boosting the cost of a concert ticket after he refuses to play a bar song. This is like Spirit Airlines gouging customers after taking out all the reclining seats. That might have actually happened. This is like a babysitter raising prices after being diagnosed as a narcoleptic. That one's a thinker. This is like Disney raising their Fast Pass fee after getting rid of Tower of Terror, making it the crappiest place on earth. This is like...
We get it.
Okay. We get it. You're right. That's enough. So congratulations to the Adelson and Dumont families, the new worst owners in all of sports. Mark Cuban, you got out at the right time.
It's really not a fit for me, so for those reasons, I'm out.
Love that guy. He's the real Mr. Wonderful. All right, one more, babyface. Franchise tags. Yes, the NFL offseason means franchise tags galore. Actually, there were only 2 this offseason. Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins was tagged for the 2nd year in a row. The franchise tag is basically a short-term commitment. It's like the Bengals telling T, I have no long-term plans of marrying you, but I do want to keep you around, so enjoy this properly priced princess cut engagement ring so you don't leave for someone else. It seems like a win for the player, but all of a sudden, tag is a negative term. Tag used to be a fun game for kids to play at recess. Tag was also a wonderful way to get more wrestlers involved in the same match. You try telling the Road Warriors that tag is bad. Oh, speaking of tag teams, there was Tag Team, the rap group that gave us the song Whoop, There It Is.
Whoop, there it is, hit me.
Who doesn't love that song? Then Tag turned into a John Hamm movie that got 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, which put a blemish on Tag and also the great John Hamm's career. And accordingly, NFL players don't care for the word tag. They look at it as if they're getting priced at a discount, like a tag being put on a silk shawl in the bargain bin at Marshall's. Here's how it practically works, though. On one side, being tagged gets you a raise. You receive 120% of the previous year's salary and a top 5 salary at your position. But on the other side, it's not that long-term money. Imagine if the movie Jerry Maguire ended with Rod Tidwell getting franchise tagged by the Cardinals. Doesn't exactly result in a feel-good moment and tears on Roy Firestone, does it? Me? I'd happily accept a franchise tag. FanDuel, you have my permission to tag me for the next 20 years. Just give me 1/5 of whatever Kay Adams is making and a side of mozzarella sticks. That last part, non-negotiable. All right, that does it for Tossing Topics. Now it's time for my irrationally angry attempt to make rational sense of a somewhat irrational bet. It's Wager Rage. There's a big MMA event this Saturday night. They're calling it UFC 313. It's a catchy name. The D3 and I will go over the card in more detail later in the show. Harry has a lot to say about some of the reach advantages on the undercard. But for my Wager Rager, I'm going with what I like to call a V parlay. Now, it's no Sal Steeler special, but the V parlay is hit on a number of occasions, and it's very complex to assemble and explain, so try to follow along. Here goes. If an MMA fighter's last name ends in the letter V, put them on a parlay to win. Wild, right? Are you dizzy yet? For this week, I'm going Rizvan Kunyev, Rafael Fiziev, and Magomed Ankalaev in the main event. That V parlay pays plus 1047. And look, I don't know what nationality those dudes are. I think the country is somewhere close to where Borat and his sister/girlfriend grew up. Either way, the parlay has yielded many, many rubles over the last few years. Let's hit it again. Recapping, that's Kunyev, Fiziev, and Ankalaev. All V's, and in this case, the V stands for victory. And if this hits, I'll donate the winnings to the V Foundation. God bless you, Jimmy V. When it comes to the V parlay, don't give up. Don't ever give up. That does it for Wager Rager. Time for a break. When we come back, we've got a cure for your case of March Madness. ESPN college hoops analyst Jay Bilas joins us all next when Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend returns. All right, welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Selection Sunday is still a little over a week away, but you can go ahead and blow it off after this interview because our next guest is about to tell you everything you need to know about college hoops. He knows all the Cinderella teams, mainly because he's the Prince Charming of college basketball analysts, ESPN's Jay Bilas. What's happening, Jay?
Not much, Sal. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Okay, let's start at 68 and go backwards to number 1. Who is the 68 team? I know it's not really your thing. You're an accomplished analyst, but have you ever picked all 68 or do you not care about that?
I don't care. You talking about the teams that make it?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, all respect to all the different bracketologists that do a great job, but by the time we get to Sunday, everybody gets 67 out of 68. I mean, they give you the automatic qualifiers, so you should be able to do pretty well. And then at the end of the line, there may be one you argue about, but it's pretty clear cut based on the formula that the committee gives.
Yeah, but just the same. It's not fair that the NFL experts can be praised for going like 8 for 32 in a mock draft round 1. But God forbid George Mason sneaks in and you didn't call it. There's hell to pay, right?
Yeah, I mean, that I don't know when that came in. I mean, I don't remember brackets being a big deal when I was a player a million years ago.
How much does the actual filling in of a bracket and the beautiful aesthetics of the bracket itself figure into the plans of expansion? Like, As it is now, I could barely get the nerd in accounting who lives with his mom and 6 cats to fill out a bracket. If you go to 96 teams, I don't even know what that would look like. Do they consider that like, hey, we have the greatest gig in the world with this bracket and people being able to fairly easily fill it out? Why would we toy with that?
Well, I think it's for a couple of reasons they want to. But to me, for most Americans, I think I can say this confidently. The tournament doesn't start until the first Thursday when it's a 64-team event. Everything else, like I don't know of any of these bracket competitions that even take those games into account. I don't think they do. And so you, unless you see a team there that you think is going to advance, past the first or second round of the main draw, what happens in Dayton doesn't matter for any bracket. So who cares? And there's a big who cares factor in this, but the schools want the money from units that they get from getting into the tournament.
Absolutely. All right, let's start. Let's talk practically, starting at the top. Tell me about Auburn. Been number one much of the season. You've called a lot of their games. You a believer in Bruce Pearl and the Tigers?
Yeah, they're the best team. Now, the Duke beat them at Cameron early in the season in that SEC ACC challenge, which turned out not to be a challenge because the SEC won it 14-2. Right. But those are kind of the two teams that have separated by a hair from the pack as being the two best teams. Doesn't mean they can't get beat, but Auburn's got everything. They're an older team. They've got experience. They've got a player of the year candidate that can run. He's a run stopper, kind of bucket getter type player. And their quartet of guards shoot it incredibly well. I think the four of them together shoot 40% from three, with the schlep of the group shooting like 38%. Right. And they all shoot 85% or better, with two guys shooting 90% from the foul line. Like, they're legit, and they can defend, they can play fast, they can play slow, they're physical, and they played the best schedule. Nobody's won more quad one games than they have. It's like 16 now. And they won't play a non-quad one game until they get into the NCAA tournament in the first round. That's how good their schedule's been.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because they're part of the SEC. And I think Joe Lunardi right now has 13 SEC teams in. Is that too many for you? Are you a believer? I think at one time you were like, you have to be at least 500 to get in. But when you have a conference like this, maybe that goes out the window. We might see some like 7 and 11 teams in the conference getting in, right?
It goes way out the window now. With a tournament this big, it goes way out the window because, you've got the SEC is playing a different schedule than everybody else. It's ridiculous. Like in the last 5 games, I'm in Tuscaloosa right now. Alabama's played nothing but not only ranked teams, but teams that are, the top 20 in KenPom. I mean, it's absurd, their schedule. And same thing for other teams in the league. Whereas you go to the ACC right now, it's a historically weak year in the ACC. So there are a bunch of teams that can't find a quad one game in that league, which is really unusual. So I think you have to go where the strength is. And right now the strength, if this were an 8-team league, like when I played, then I would say, okay, if you're not 500, then maybe there's an argument against you. But in a 16-team league, that's a lot different.
Yeah, and plus SEC, they're not able to play football at a high level. You have to give them something, right?
I know. It's a shame that they can't do anything else.
Janai Broom, you talked about him in Auburn. He's up against Cooper Flagg for the Wooden Award. You get a vote for this, right?
I think I do. I don't even remember.
That's great. Nobody knows if they get a vote. I love it. Everybody asks, like, yeah, they'll hit me up if I have to vote.
I do submit a list. Like they ask you to submit like a top 50 to start the year, then a top 25. And then recently, I think it was a top 15 or something like that, which seems kind of silly right now because it's a 2-horse race. But my sense is like, I think Cooper Flagg is the better player, and he's certainly the better player long term. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. But it's hard to turn away from what Broom has done all year against the competition he's done. It's kind of a coin flip, honestly. But I probably need a little bit more time to think about it. It's a really hard decision. And most years it's not hard. Like last year wasn't hard. Zach Edey was the player of the year, period. But this year it's going to be a hard decision.
All right, I won't put you on the spot. Yeah, odds were even. They were dead even early this week, and now Cooper Flagg is like a almost 2-1 favorite. I wonder if their head-to-head game earlier in the season, that will be the deciding factor for people like you. For a lot of people who are just like, this is such a coin flip.
we have to have something to break the tie.
That's a fair point. It could be, but I still think it's a coin flip. So Flag is leading his team in scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks. And Broom is leading his team in scoring, rebounding, assists, and blocks. He's not leading him in steals. What a schlep. I can't believe, we're even talking about him. But it's that kind of thing where you're looking at, last time I can remember it being this hard of a decision was probably when it was Adam Morrison and JJ Redick. That was a really hard call, and they both played really good schedules. But you hate to say coin flip, but you kind of feel that way.
Who in the 3 to 6 seed range do you think can make some noise in a tournament? I know the seeds haven't been divvied up yet, but we're talking Clemson, Arizona, A&M, Missouri, maybe.
Well, Missouri, all of them can be in the operative word there. Missouri is a difficult team to play against because they can really shoot it and they switch defenses up and they play a lot of people. They've got some versatile guys that can switch and make things tough on you.
Now, another team a lot of people are talking about, Michigan State, Tom Izzo. It's going to be a 2 or a 3 seed, not an underdog going into that second game, which is big, right? So usually if he's an 8 or 9, I'm not going to say usually, but the last few years, and then it's a coin flip game if he's playing Saturday or Sunday that first weekend. How much damage does his team do with a good seeding?
They're a team that's actually surprised me because when I saw them early in the season, I just didn't think they were going to be this good. They don't shoot it very well at all. And they're actually a team of what I consider to be good shooters. They've always been good shooters in the past, but last time I looked before they played Wisconsin, they were shooting like 29% from 3. But the good news there is they've kind of adapted, and now they get to the free throw line like crazy. They've got really good depth. Their big guys are really starting to play at a high level, and they're a very together group. So they've got a bunch of different weapons that can hurt you at different times in the game and in different games. Will the shooting thing bite them in a game? I think they're a second weekend team for sure, just because of the team they have, and then Tom Izzo and his record in March. He really is. He's one of the greatest coaches of our time, in my opinion, in any sport. So I think they're second weekend, but I do wonder about their ability to make shots because you're going to have to in the tournament. You're not going to be able to shoot 29% from 3 and beat people.
Going to be fun watching them. Now, I was thinking about you, and you probably thought your dream job was as a basketball analyst, but now colleges are hiring GMs. Woj over to St. Bonnie's, right? Is this something that interests you? Could we look forward to seeing Jay Bilas, GM of Duke basketball?
Not Duke basketball, because Rachel Baker's got that knocked. That's a good question. I've never thought about that. I've had some other job offers in the past, and I like what I'm doing. At some point, I'm 61 years old, and I still feel great and clearly look great. But I do wonder sometimes, whenever I'm going to hang it up, absent getting kicked out and fired, it may be because of travel. Kind of the amount of travel kind of gets to you. And I could see that happening. If that happens, I don't see myself just playing golf all the time, although it sounds really attractive right now. But that sounds like a good gig.
Okay. I'll make some calls. I know people.
That'd be great.
We'll see what we could do with that. All right. So now the UNC Duke, the rivalry's fizzling a little bit. I hate to say, do you think UConn St. John's could take its place as top rivalry for fans? Is that in the cards?
Well, I've heard the fizzle theory. I don't agree. Just because one team has not played as well as we expected in 1 year. Carolina went to the Final Four a few years, 2-3 years ago. And Duke's been very powerful. That rivalry has delivered for the game for the last 40 plus years. The difference with Duke Carolina is people outside of that footprint are really interested in it. And this year it's not been as compelling. I will grant all of that. But year after year, that thing delivers like nothing else.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know why I'm pushing UConn St. John's, but you're saying we're a few Patino, Hurley nose to noses away from that even gaining enough to even put it close to the stat. I like the old days when Calipari and Chaney used to interrupt each other's press conferences. We need a few of those before that rises to the level of anything.
Well, yeah,
special.
you need a few where they're trading championships with one another.
Right, that's true too.
Duke and Carolina have been winning championships all these years,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been nationally ranked every year. It's unusual when they're not, when both of them aren't. That's not been the norm for St. John's UConn. I mean, it's a great game and it's fantastic this year. I'm not saying it's not, but there was a time when Duke Maryland was an unbelievable rivalry. But it was a short period of years, and those things can come and go. I've not seen any evidence of Duke Carolina coming and going. I mean, it's been there the whole time, and this year not as powerful as it's been, but that's been true in other years, and the game has been off the charts good.
Right. It's true. All right. You're an attorney. Your firm famously got the Duke lacrosse players acquitted, right? Maybe I made that up. But
no,
anyway,
that's not my firm. But
that's not your firm. Okay. I made that up completely. Who's the head coach, past or present, you'd like to join you as co-counsel during a trial?
Oh, wow. If I wanted somebody to look like a lawyer, I'd get Jay Wright.
Right.
If I wanted somebody to pound the table when we didn't have the facts or the law, I would probably have Izzo there. That'd be pretty cool. If I needed somebody to make an argument in my place, I would probably take Bruce Pearl, because I think he could stand up there at the lectern and give an impassioned argument to any judge or jury.
Wow. I feel like you've thought about this a lot. You had 3 concise answers right off the top of your head.
I've never been asked that before. That's a really good question. I've never even thought of that.
All right. I do have one more question for you. This one maybe not as good. We call this Cousins Conundrum.
Cousins Conundrum.
All right. Here it is, Jay. Duke wins the title. They go 6-0 over the 3 weeks of the tournament. They roll everybody by 40. They even call on you to cut down the nets. Okay? But in order for this to happen, every day for the next 30 days, you have to sleep next to the Duke mascot, the Blue Devil. Nothing weird, just him in his costume in the same bed. I'm guessing your wife would choose to sleep on the couch. But if this doesn't happen, Duke loses to Quinnipiac in the first round, and everyone knows it's your fault. Do you take the deal?
Well, I actually have know a little bit about the mascot. Have you ever gotten a whiff of how bad that thing smells?
I have not, but I have a feeling I know where you're going.
The mascot's running around in Cameron all the time, sweating in that costume. That thing smells horrible. So I would say that good luck Quinnipiac in the second round. I don't think I would volunteer to take a whiff of that for 30 days in a row.
Oh, I could have sweetened the deal. I don't know. There's a lawyer in you. I couldn't get it by you. All right. Jay Bilas, thanks so much. Enjoy the tournament. I hope you pick a perfect bracket this year.
No danger of that. Thank you, brother.
All right. We'll be right back with the D3, and Cousin Sal's winning weekend continues.
Welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Let's bring in our next guest. Not really guests. They're a lot like family, as in you love them, but you're always slightly nervous of what they're about to say and somewhat skeptical of loaning them money. They're my wizards of wagering, my gurus of gambling, my barons of betting, my overlords of the odds from the Against All Odds podcast, the D3, Harry, Brother Bry, Darren, the Parlay Kid. What's happening, fellas?
What's going on, Sal?
What's happening, Sal?
What's going on, buddy?
You sound great, Harry. I know. You're a little under the weather. Let's try to get you through the next 20 minutes or so. Harry, let me lead with you because I just spoke to Jay Bilas. He says hi. I'm kidding, he didn't. But he did decline my offer to sleep next to the Blue Devil mascot in exchange for a Duke title. Is there any mascot you would share a bed with for 30 days if it meant that team would be guaranteed a championship?
I absolutely would, Sal. You know who it is. It's Otto the Orange from Syracuse. Look, he's a social media darling, like myself. Otto and I are both a perfect combo that reflects Syracuse's spirit. We are zesty, full of heart, and always, well, if you couldn't tell, we're a little round. We're a little round, and that's okay. Whatever we can do, we always have a smile on our face. I really don't today because I am under the weather, but whatever we can do to help Adrian Autry out, let's go Orange, out of the Orange, no problem.
Okay, there you go. Apologies to Otto the Orange. He has COVID-19 for laying next to Harry.
They would never fit on the same bed, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. We'd have to use a double king size. All right. I should have asked if there's any mascot that Harry wouldn't sleep with, because I don't think that might have been easier. Anyway, listen. Coming up on March 20th and 21st, Harry and I will be in Vegas for the opening round of the tournament. Not sure if he'll be sharing a room with Otto the Orange, but Tate Frazier will be there, as well as comedian Brett Ernst. Kenny Mayne's going to be there. So if you're in the Las Vegas area, swing by. Join us at the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club. We'll be watching games. It's free. We're hosting a trivia challenge for some great prizes. It's sponsored by Splash Sports, where I'm also running a contest for $50,000, Cousin Sal's 50K Melee, $50,000 guaranteed. Eliminator pool. It's hard, Parlay Kid, right? You got far in this last year. It wasn't for $50,000, but you pick a winner, one winner every day of the tournament. It's pretty great. You put in a lot of time trying to figure it out, right?
You sure do, Sal. And I had a nice run last year. Looking to make another run this year. Let's get it done.
All right, splashsports.com/Cousin Sal. Speaking of Splash, Steph Curry, close to yet another three-point milestone. He's nearing the 4,000 made threes mark. He has 39.82 heading into that game against the Nets, which is going on right now, I'll be honest. He's averaging 4.5 or 4.4 a game. They have odds on, well, he'll get to 4,000 three-pointers. Is this a super important milestone? No, but it's the first week in March, and we have time to kill. And more importantly, like I said, FanDuel has odds on it. When's he going to drain number 4,000? Let's go. Brian, let's go to you, because I think you have the earliest date. Is that correct?
Yes,
you don't.
You technically do.
Yes. Right. I have the earliest date. You have the shortest odds.
Shortest odds. Yeah, shortest odds. I'm going with the Kings at plus 175. So, look, he's currently sitting 18 back, like you said, Sal. So if you look at based on his average, right, 4.4 threes per game that he makes. So it's going to take, based on that, it's going to take roughly 4 or 5 games. There are some concerns, he's had that sprained ankle a little bit, or ankle's a little sore, that maybe he could miss a game. But if you look at the rest of the games up until Sacramento, they're spaced out nicely for him. So, and if you look over the last 2 months, he's been pretty consistent with his play. So no real back-to-back games for him until the 17th, 18th. So I'm going to say Sacramento is the game, Sal. And plus, when you look at it, it's a TNT game. So he could get his respect from Shaq, right? Shaq's already calling him. He should be in the GOAT conversation. So I think that would be a good thing for him to get it on a night with the TNT guys.
Okay, interesting. It is a TNT game. That's March 13th against Sacramento. So let me just go through it real quick. He has the Nets. He has home for the Pistons, home for the Blazers, home for the Kings, home for the Knicks, home for the Nuggets on March 17th. He should be able to do it by then. 6 games. Those are 6 games I listed. He needs 18. Maybe he sits one or a couple. Bry spelled it out. He's been playing, whatever. That's what's tough to figure out if he's going to play. Parlay Kid, you and Harry have jumped on the same number here. I do like your reasoning without even hearing it. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Yeah, because as a Knicks fan, Sal, Curry has tortured the Knicks throughout his career. Earlier in this week, again, going into the Garden and getting another win in the Garden. The Knicks fell one spot away from being able to draft him when Curry came out of Davidson. And ever since then, he has owned the New York Knicks at plus 220. It just seems fitting that he would do this against the Knicks. Who else would it be? Got to go with against the Knicks, no doubt.
Harry, you're in New York right now. Is that why you're feeling the Knicks? This is a Saturday game, which is another thing, March 15th. So that's kind of fun. A lot of eyeballs will be on this one as well.
Absolutely. Look, he's definitely doing it at home since Golden State starts a 7-game homestand on Saturday versus Detroit after being on the crappy East Coast. And Adam Silver and NBA need Curry to cool it from 3. And we love the ratings for an ESPN ABC Saturday night game. Ratings versus Tibbs, Towns, Brunson, and Bridges. He gets it done against the Knicks Saturday, March 15th on ESPN and ABC.
All right. So that's a week from tomorrow, March 15th. You're saying plus 220. That's pretty good. I'm taking the long shot here, and this Bry relies on him playing every game. March 10th against Portland. So I'll have to put up a nice number against the Nets last night, home for the Pistons, and then the Blazers. What did I say? He needs 18. So then he would need he would need 6, 6, and 6. Does that give you 18?
Yeah.
get you 6-1 odds right there for Portland. All right, let's keep the things going in the NBA. We haven't really touched on this one yet. Sixth man of the year. I think it's given out by Time Magazine. Peyton Pritchard, Malik Beasley, DeAndre Hunter, and then it gets bigger and bigger. And now look, with every award here, you have to worry about injury, of course. But with sixth man, you have to worry about injury. And if they're going to turn your bench guy into a starter, you almost have no control over either, really. But Parlay Kid, go ahead.
I think this is easy money to just jump on Pritchard right now. I would have maybe rolled the dice a little bit on DeAndre Hunter. But as you said, with some of these injuries, Hunter has found his way into the starting lineup quite often lately for the Cavs. So I actually think that hurts his cause here, where Pritchard is solely off the bench game after game after game. Kind of reminds me of Vinnie Johnson of the microwave from the Pistons many years ago. Heats up very quickly. Alike. Yeah, heats up.
Yeah.
Heats up very, very quickly and gets the job done for this great Celtics team. And he's their guy off the bench. I think this is easy money. Jump on now, else minus 115.
And Parlay Kid, we should mention this Peyton Pritchard guy. A couple nights ago, 43 points, coming off the bench still. So these odds might change on us, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We're going to see a change for sure.
All right, Harry, give us your pick for sixth man of the year.
I'm going to take Malik Beasley of the Pistons. He hasn't missed a game all season, and he's really had to work hard, Sal, to find a home since Detroit is his fifth team in 5 years. He's third on Detroit in scoring. Pritchard's fifth on Boston, and Beasley is averaging 2.5 more points than Pritchard is in 17 of his last 18 games. 17 of the last 18, 3 threes or more. And the Pistons, by the way, their over-under was 24.5 this year in wins. They've already got 35, and a lot of the reasons is because of Beasley.
All right, Brian, bring us home with a big, big long shot. I would, if I listed all the names, I don't even know if I'd get the Ty Jerome.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ty Jerome. Look, Pritchard seems like the easy choice here. I don't know if I love the odds. You know, we saw this a couple years ago, right, with the whole Quickly thing, right, where the odds were shifting 10-1 to pretty much then he became a slightly decent favorite, and then he didn't win, right? There was a lot of weird things that potentially could happen right at the end of the season, but Ty Jerome has had a really good season for the Cavs, right? And the one thing I would say is I know Hunter's on the Cavs as well, but like Darren was saying, like Hunter might have to start some games. But the other thing I would look at for Hunter, this is a guy who's what is he, Sal? He's 7 plus 750 or 8-1. But
yeah,
like
750.
He's only played 9 games with the Cavs, right? They were great before him, and he would have to play 19 of the last 21 games to even qualify for this. So I feel like you almost just throw him out. But look at Jerome's stats, right? He's been a huge part of this team all season. Shoots 51% from the field, 44% from threes, 90% from the free throw line. He's been especially good since January, and even better recently. He's averaging 19 points per game over his last 6. So I feel like this is a guy, if he all of a sudden could start averaging 18, 19 points over the last 20 games of the season, gets his average up a little more.
All right. I should mention these awards are the death of me, really, these NBA awards. I have, who do I have? I have Sabonis for most rebounds, needs 56 games to qualify, is 54. So I don't know. He should be back, but who knows? They'll probably shut him down for the year. Anyway, and I had Westbrook for this category, sixth man of the year. He was winning for probably 3/4 of the season, and then they made him a starter. Anyway, that's not for you guys to worry about. I'm going to cry about it over the break. We're going to take one now. When we return, we'll talk UFC 313. It's a good one. And the make-believe Riverboat captain joins us. He was stunned by John Cena's heel turn, but was it the biggest one we've seen this century? We'll discuss. That's next on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Welcome back to Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. Fellas, not sure if you saw this over the weekend, but at WWE Elimination Chamber, John Cena stunned everyone, shocked the wrestling world by attacking Cody Rhodes and turning heel. Yeah, it was the first time in his 25-year career he went from good to bad. Kids were crying, grown men were crying too. The make-believe Riverboat captain nearly crashed the ship right into a big sandbar or something like that. Anyway, he wants to know which is the most surprising athlete heel turn of the 21st century. He put odds on it too. Is it John Cena, 2-1 odds? Is it Michael Vick, 5-1 odds? Is it Aaron Rodgers, 10-1 odds? Or is it Ray Gun, 50 to 1 odds? I don't know that Ray Gun was ever beloved. Or the field at even. Harry, you go first. You have a lot to say. Please don't spit up at the camera.
I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Look, even Green Bay Packer fans have turned their back on him for his outrageous beliefs and comments that he's made over the years. 42 he turns in December, Sal. And more than anything else, I know you love slamming him. I love slamming him too. And most importantly, for what he's done or hasn't done on the field, you realize his last playoff win was in 2020. He's got 2 playoff wins since 2016. Aaron Rodgers hit the road for good. Goodbye.
Wow. I think Harry hates Rodgers more than anybody. All right. Well, it makes sense that the Packers don't love him anymore, right? He jumped ship or didn't sign him or whatever it is. All right. Now, we're going field. Parlay Kid, Brother Bry, and myself. Parlay Kid, start us off. Who are you going with?
I'll take the field and Sal, something that is near and dear to you and I, and happened just recently. Talk about Juan Soto turning heel. Right? Leaving the beloved Yankees. He became the face of MLB baseball last year, Sal, with the New York Yankees, and decides to go to little brother Mets in 2025. Well, he would be relegated to anonymity, playing for a mid-level team over the next decade and a half. Juan Soto turned heel on us, Sal, big time. You know it. He sold out. Screw you, Juan Soto.
He sold out. He took like $40,000 more. All right, Bri. All right, are you as bitter as your brother, or you want to go Soto? What are you doing?
No, it's funny though. I was thinking there does seem to be a lot of baseball players like that. I guess because they jump teams sometimes, right? You have Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, or Mets thrown in there. So there definitely is a bunch of baseball players. But I'm gonna go with. I think this is an easy. I'm gonna go with LeBron James. Right, his career has pretty much been a professional wrestler's career, right? In terms of turning heel, right? To start with Cleveland, right? Everybody for years loved him, right? And then you get to 2010, right? With The Decision, where that just felt like it was maybe the worst idea in sports history, where everybody immediately hated him. You had the Cavs fan who rightfully so were, burning his jersey and everything else. And then you had Knicks fans. I'm pretty sure you told me, Bill told you the Knicks were getting LeBron James
Knicks,
at that time
Bulls.
too.
Simmons had us bet on like 17 teams. Expansion teams that weren't even around. He had us bet.
I know. I remember just being so bummed about that. But everybody turned on him. Then it's funny. He goes back to Cleveland. He wins a championship against the Warriors. Everybody kind of forgave him, right? And now it's like back with the Lakers, right? It's kind of like turned heel again, where it just feels like everybody, for whatever reason, for multiple reasons here, everybody has turned on him again, unless you're a Lakers fan. So a very weird career arc for, the best or second best player ever in the history of the NBA.
You're right. It's true. And it's even like Rey Mysterio, he brought his son on, Dominic Mysterio. In this case, it's Bronny James. And is he going to turn bad? Does he turn on LeBron? Yes. All right. That's a good answer. He's turned a lot. He's turned heel and back a lot. Like the Big Show, I think has turned like 46 times. All right. Let me look through these. John Cena, by the way, huge deal, by the way. 25 years, making the king of Make-A-Wish right there. Look at Harry. We should make a wish for Harry there. I don't think he has much longer with us here. Anyway, 25 years. He holds a record for Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then he's like, to hell with the kids. I'm going to go bad here. Michael Vick is probably the answer if you don't include like murderers and stuff. If you don't, whatever. Michael Vick was beloved and then did the dog thing. People love their dogs. Aaron Rodgers, as Harry mentioned. Ray Gun, I said, not sure if it was ever beloved, but hated almost instantly. I want to say Tommy Gunn in Rocky V. How could he turn his back on Balboa and the family after all they did for him? Very sad. But I'm going to make this personal. And I don't think I loved any player, athlete more than Emmitt Smith growing up. And Parlay Kid, you were right there with me with the Cowboys. I argued with everyone who said Barry Sanders was better. This guy was the stud. And all I have to say is be careful meeting your heroes, because it was set up through Jimmy Kimmel Live that I was going to do a hidden camera bit with him Super Bowl week in Detroit when the Steelers played the Seahawks, and I was going to be his assistant, and he was going to sign autographs, and we're going to do foolish things. and he walked out on production and about 50 fans who were waiting to meet him. And I was demoralized and still am. I could barely get through this without breaking out into tears. Yeah, it was like he hit me with a folding chair, Brian, in the back.
Well,
like a half a dozen times.
Well, good news. He's the guest on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend next week, right?
Not a chance. We had a shot to get him on Radio Row. I passed. Anyway, more details on that in my book, You Can't Lose Them All. Greatest sports heel of all time, for me personally, Emmitt Smith. All right, now back to actual betting. UFC 313 in Las Vegas, Saturday night. You know it's a big one when producer Mikey Meatballs is refusing to go out and cancels all his Pilates classes. I'll be attending a Little League tournament in Arizona, so I'll probably be watching on my phone from a hotel pool while Costco pizza gets passed around or something. But let's get to our picks. Parlay Kid, you are nailing the main event here. Tell us all about it. What's the lines? Who are you going with?
Yeah, so what a great fight here between Pereira and Ankalaev in this matchup. And you know, I'd normally side with the wrestler here, Sal, which would be Ankalaev, but I will not be in this fight. He has said that he might not even wrestle in this fight. He might want to go toe-to-toe. He might be playing a little possum here. Maybe doesn't want to give away his strategy. But, Sal, we've seen Pereira. You cannot stand up with him, his punches, his leg kicks. And speaking of his leg kicks, Sal, that's why a lot of wrestlers don't want to go after guys like that, because they're very worried about when they shoot in, getting a knee to the face or something like that. Pereira at minus 120 here, I think, is very good value for a guy that just seems to be in dominant fashion right now. The only chance Ankalaev has is to wrestle him. Doesn't seem like he really wants to. Take Pereira, minus 120.
Okay. Boy, I mean, there are some tough outs on this card, right? If you go with Pereira, Ankalaev, whoever you're going against, Gaethje, Fiziev, those are tough outs. All right, let's get to all right, Brian, give us your pick here.
Well, also let's hope, as UFC fans, let's hope Pereira wins, because if Ankalaev wins, that this style has taken over pretty much every weight class. So let's all root for Pereira.
This is a tush push,
Yes,
right? The
yes.
tush push of UFC?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. But I'm going to go with Mauricio Rufy by KO over Bobby Green at minus 110. If you watch UFC fights, Sal, I think you do this sometimes, right? You make mental notes when you see these guys fight on undercards or, a fight night. And you're like, I have to remember to bet this guy the next time this guy fights. Right. And Rufy is this guy. He's very easy to remember. He's a guy who wears the Revenge of the Nerds taped glasses after he fights in the interviews. He's supposed to, he plays this nerdy guy. But this is potentially a guy who could become a UFC champion. He's an excellent striker. His first 10 wins were all by KOs. But his last fight was the only fight that went to decision. Now he's fighting against Bobby Green, who has done a good job continuing his career and staying relevant, but Rufy's striking is going to be too much for him. I think age is going to catch up with Green here. And if you look at Green, in 3 of his last 4 losses, they've been by KO. And, again, he lost by KO to Jalen Turner, similar fighters in terms of striking ability. So I'm going to take Mauricio Rufy to win by KO at minus 110. So.
All right. Speaking of roofie, I feel like Harry's been roofied on this New York trip. But Harry, you actually have him in your parlay. I mean, you watched the least amount of UFC, and now we have to.
And I might have a better record than Brian over the past 6 months. I really might.
Okay.
I really might. But
all right.
He's
not taking the mental notes you are on fight night. I guess.
3-leg parlay pays minus 140. Got to pay a little here, but I'm gonna jump on with Brian. Rufy over Green. 6 wins in a row for Rufy. Meanwhile, Green just 1-2 in his last 3 fights. And Rufy has a 4-inch reach advantage. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to take Carlos Leal over Alex Marino. Both are 5'11". Both weigh 170. But Leal has a 2.5-inch reach over Marino. You see where I'm going here, Sal? And then I'm going to go Curtis Blades over Rivzin Kunyev. Now, Blades hasn't been that great in his last few fights. I think he controls this one. And he just happens to have a 4-inch reach.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone learned a single thing from that. Just, I mean, that you can't watch the tail of the tape, but good work, good research. I'm going to go Fiziev over Gaethje here. Like I said, there's some tough outs here, and it's a rematch. I know Gaethje took the first fight, majority decision. I watched that again this morning. It was a co-main event 2 years ago. Fiziev got poked in the eye and just kind of got battered after that, and then Gaethje took him down at the end. So it was really, he won 2-1. fairly Gaethje, but I'm going to go. Yeah, God, neither of these guys stop moving forward with their kicks and punches, and there's no distance is probably a good bet too, although it's way juiced up to minus 220, but I'm going Fiziev. He's 5 years younger, better on the mat, completes 40% of his takedowns and defends 89%. Both numbers better than Gaethje, and Gaethje just absorbs too many punches. I think eventually it's going to catch up. He has 7.5 significant strikes per minute he absorbs. That's a ton. That's 37 a round. He may not get put to sleep, but these fights against Oliveira and Holloway, I think they take their toll on the older Gaethje guy, just constantly eating shots. Fiziev, minus 162 is my pick. And this I think is going to be the best fight on the card. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, FanDuel has for baseball, we talked baseball, Parlay Kid, which winning state of the 2025 World Series? California plus 210. Any other state plus 210. New York plus 410. Pennsylvania plus 1,000. Texas plus 1,000. Bri, what do you think? What do you like there? New York, right? We got to do it.
No,
Plus 410.
no, not New York. Maybe any other.
Any other?
Plus
Is Canada a state yet? They have that at plus 210. Washington, D.C. and any other state. California, you get 5, Parlay Kid, but the Athletics count in that 5. It's not bad. Which one would you go?
I do think getting 5 at plus 210 is kind of nice odds, but I would probably do the New York thing.
Yes.
Whereas at least if the Mets did turn out to be pretty good, I would have some rooting interest if money was involved.
I felt the same way. I would get sick to my stomach. Speaking of sick to your stomach in New York, Harry, you were having a tough time out there. You're visiting relatives. You went back east.
Yeah.
What happened? You took an Uber that didn't go great?
Took an Uber last night from Manhattan back to New Jersey, and the wife had to, right on the freeway, she's like, I needed to pull over. I said, why? And I wasn't sick yet. I wasn't even sick yet. And she's like, I'm going to throw up. So pull over the side of the road on the freeway, and she just puking up gallons. And I'm just fucking
gallons.
Like, I don't even know what the deal is. And I'm thinking this guy, I'm staying in the car. I'm not even going out to help her because.
Wait, was she driving the Uber?
No, she was
okay.
not. Right. And I wasn't happy with the price of the Uber either. But that made me sick. But still, but she's throwing up, and I'm staying in the car. I roll down the window and ask her if she's okay, because I feel like if I get out of the car, he's just leaving us.
Yeah, right. What kind of rating? What did you check your rating? What kind of rating does someone give if you as a passenger vomiting all over?
I know. I have no idea. I couldn't even pronounce the guy's name either, so all bad.
All right. That seems a good spot to end here, fellas. Thanks so much. Don't forget, get your parking validated on your way out and give your Uber 5 stars. We're going to be back to wrap things up on Cousin Sal's Winning Weekend. All right, we're all out of time. We did it. Another show that will hopefully provide you with winners. You know what? Either way, we had a good time. My thanks to Jay Bilas for providing me with my one shining moment by appearing on the show. And of course, thanks to the D3 Harry, Darren, and Brother Bri for their thoughts on mascots and MMA. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. And please always remember, you may feel like an underdog, but just know you're all my favorites. Happy handicapping!